So, moving down to step 2. Once we know exactly what we want in our life, and when I say exactly what we want, we should really identify our manifestation in a very crystal clear way. If you want a job, exactly what kind of position do you want, and what kind of pay do you want? What kind of working hours do you want? There was a man that attended the morning program. He had never met Dr. Pillai, and he just read a small book called The 1 Minute...
Prosperity and Enlightenment Guide.
Ah, yes, The 1 Minute Guide to Prosperity and Enlightenment. He didn't know anything about Dr. Pillai's teachings except that one book. He told me he read that book. It gave some very simple tools, and he decided he was going to apply it to getting his dream job. So he read the book, he followed exactly what it said, and he selected his goal. He wanted a job which was double the amount he was making now. He wanted a certain position. He wrote it all down in the back of the book. I want this salary level, this position, this kind of working hours, all these things I want. After 6 months, he went back to the book. He had just been offered a job. He forgot that he had written down the exact salary level that he was offered. The position, everything was there. So he was proving to himself that these techniques really work, and he used crystal clear clarity. He wanted to hone it down to exactly what he wanted. What happens is that when you know exactly what you want, you can pull it to you much faster because you're not wishy-washy about it. Your magnetic abilities become much more powerful. So, first we have to know exactly what we want. Then we think about that over and over and over again. Now, the reason why step 2 is so important is that in the first principle of manifestation, we learn that we become what we think. So, if we are still thinking negative thoughts, those negative thoughts will definitely be realized into a negative reality. So it is so incredibly important that other than knowing what we want and pulling that towards us, we also have to be clear that the other negative thoughts in our mind, we have to erase them like erasing them from a slate. Otherwise, those negative thoughts are going to turn into a negative future, because the same principle operates. We become what we think. Our thoughts create our reality. Now, negative thoughts come from 2 sources. I'm just going to review this very briefly, because at the last seminar, I spoke in detail about karma, what it is, how do you take care of it, and also ancestral influences. If you want to learn about that in detail, you can go to our blog, and there are clips entitled with exactly what the practice and the teaching is, and you can read about it there. But just briefly, I want to mention here, for those of you that are new, is that one of the major sources of negativity in our life is karma. Karma is no more than our destiny. It's all the thoughts that we held with great passion in our previous births. Our soul actually brought that forward to this birth. It remained with us as electrical energy in the soul, and now it's residing in the throat. So there's a very simple technique that we can do in order to erase these karmic impressions that are sitting at our throat, and they are waiting to burst into a negative reality in the future. We can do something about it now. You may not be feeling the impact of some of those karmic impressions now, but the future diseases that could be waiting for you, those diseases already exist as a subtle form of energy in your throat. And you can use a simple ritual to erase that so that you don't have to face that destiny. Then the second source of negativity is thoughts from our ancestors. And very importantly, I want to say here that our ancestors are actually our greatest protectors in life. They can be our most empowering allies on our side. However, most of our ancestors, their souls are trapped on the earth plane. And because they're in a trapped state, their souls are close around us. And because of that, we could be picking up on their thoughts and their financial problems, their health problems, their relationship problems. It's very important that we do a simple act that is very easy to perform every day. It will do two things. Number one, it will help our ancestors to ascend into a plane of light and liberation. So it's a great act for their good and for the good of our children. And also, it will help us every day. While we focus on liberating them, we won't be picking up on their thoughts. So it's a daily act, and an act of service you do for your ancestors and yourself. You can also read about that on our blog. So the reason why this is so important, like I mentioned, number one, if we are thinking negative thoughts, even though we know what we want and we're thinking those thoughts, these other negative thoughts which are running in the background of our mind could manifest. Number two, let's say that you have been following these steps and you've manifested the goal that you want. Maybe now you have the new job. What can happen is that these negative thoughts based on our karma could actually distract us from the manifestation that we just received. And I'll tell you a story about that. I was in communication with a lady this week who had been coming to many of these sessions, and immediately she manifested a fantastic job with incredible pay and very fulfilling work. She was thrilled. Now, after about 2 months, she started to have a feeling that she didn't want to go to work anymore. And she would rather be free. She didn't care if she didn't have any money, but she would rather be free on her own. So I suggested to her, I think your karmic thoughts could actually be pulling you away from this beautiful manifestation that you created for yourself. And once she realized that, then she felt those karmic thoughts almost just burst and not come near her anymore. So this can actually happen. I know many stories of women that have had a pattern of attracting men that are not supportive to them. Even if they manifest a very kind, loving, giving man, because of karma, if they don't take care of that karma, they may still want to go back to the kind of men that don't support them. And those of you that are laughing, you know what I'm talking about. So this is a very important thing. We have to remove the negativity in our lives daily so that we can keep the clarity and focus on what we want, and then only create that in our life. Now, the third step, meditation, or Dr. Pillai calls it a mind process. Now, I just remembered that I didn't tell you almost anything about Dr. Pillai. Just now, briefly, I'm going to say that Dr. Pillai is a very unusual man in that he's both a scholar and a mystic. So he comes from academia. He wants everything proven. He's very interested in the facts. However, he studied with great masters throughout India, and he has delved into the deepest forms of spirituality, and he came up with a major conclusion, that life should be a 200% life. Spirituality should give you everything you need materially. If it doesn't, it's not worth it. If you focus on spirituality and if it pulls you away from paying your bills and being responsible to your family, that's not a good situation. Spirituality and materiality have to go hand in hand. They need to work together. One without the other is not fulfilling. So Dr. Pillai, actually, all of his techniques are targeted towards this goal, that every human being deserves the experience of having a 200% life. 100% spiritual, 100% material. And his techniques actually target manifesting in different aspects of your life. And we'll go into that later on. But this is the premise of his entire philosophy. He calls his educational tools and teachings mind science because He likes things proven. He only teaches techniques that he has taught to many thousands and thousands of people. By now, his techniques have reached millions of people. He keeps the ones that people have a good result with. If they don't work, he's the first one to throw it out. And he likes to look deeply into science, especially quantum physics, and understand how we can improve our spiritual techniques based on the principles of quantum physics. So everything that he teaches, he wants it to be verified and quantifiable, and that it should be proven with results. So now we're still at the step of meditation, or what he calls a mind process. Meditation is very important for one major reason. We need to develop a new mind. Mind is the basis of everything. We started with the principle, we become what we think. Thoughts begin with the mind. When we go into meditation, or what Dr. Pillai calls a mind process, we have the opportunity to move from the negative human limited mind to the divine mind. The divine mind is totally positive, totally unlimited. The divine mind knows exactly what you want and what's good for you. So this process actually happens naturally during meditation. During our common waking state, we are present with this negative mind. And we all know its characteristics very well. It's negative, doubting, fearful, suspicious, it blames people, resentment. This is all common to the human mind, so you can almost have a sense of humor about it. In fact, Dr. Pillai says, one technique you can have when the mind is throwing up negative, doubtful, fearful thoughts, what you can do is just pretend, how would you act if you were in a movie theater and someone was next to you talking and talking while you're trying to listen to the movie? You would tell them, please be quiet, I'm not interested in this. We need to have the same attitude with this negative mind. It's just negative chatter all day. What if my husband leaves me, and what if I lose my job, and what if I get sick? It's not important, it's not interesting, and it's not the real you. That's the most important thing. That negative mind is not your authentic self. In meditation, you can actually make contact with your authentic self. You are divine. You have a divine mind. That divine mind knows what you want and how to get it.